Hello and welcome to another edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joel Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it's my pleasure every week to get to bring to you some of our alumni. We talk to those who got their master's degrees, others who got their bachelor's in either digital media production or communication studies. We visit about what they're doing today and how the program helped them get there. Today, we are visiting with one of our graduate students. This is Mariah Gilmore. Mariah is a legislative assistant working in Jefferson City. She got her bachelor's degree in political science from Southwest Baptist before coming to UCM for her master's. Mariah, great to have you with us. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. Very great to be here.
We were talking before we came on the air that you're getting ready for another legislative assistant. You've got a new rep. You're going to get to do some training. That's exciting.
Very terrifying, but very exciting at the same time.
Well, fortunately, you had that bachelor's in political science and that master's in communication to help get you through there. So tell us about your journey. Where did you start? Where did you go to high school and then kind of go through your degree at SBU and then what led you to here?
Perfect. So I went to Parkview High School in Springfield, Missouri. I've lived in Missouri most of my life, so it's my home. And then I graduated. I interviewed around for a couple of schools. I wanted to go to Mizzou. I'm like, I'm going to be the big shot lawyer. I'm so excited. And then my friend's like, hey, come with me to the school, Southwest Baptist. It's real small. Audition for this speech and debate team with me. Let's see how it goes. And I'm like, I don't know. I really want to go to Mizzou. I auditioned. I met Dr. David Bailey and then Mr. Jordan Compton, who are the coaches or were the coaches of the Southwest Baptist Speaking Bearcats, and it absolutely changed my life. I went there with a former graduate as well, Marissa Mayo. She also got her master's from UCM. So we did the speech and debate team together. It absolutely changed my life. I met so many people from all over the country. I was just able to use my platform to speak about important things. And from that, I actually was able to meet this coordinator for this program in Washington, D.C. So I got to internship out there with actual Congress people. It didn't last very long because it was during COVID, which is tragic. But it at least let me know that I want to go into politics. So then I'm like, from here, I would love to go to graduate school, maybe get something under my feet and figure out where to go from there. And that's what I ended up at UCM. And I'd already been to UCM a couple of times because we would go there for their speech and debate team. I already knew that I loved the campus. I knew I loved the professors there because I would have to interact with them through teaching or through coaching, or sometimes they would be my judges. So it's just me already kind of aware of what the campus was like. Then I got there and it was better than I ever could have imagined, honestly, because Southwest Baptist was just a small school. So it was pretty local area, people from Bolivar, Springfield, not a lot of people from anywhere else. And so then going to the state school was just amazing because there was better opportunity. They really cared about you. They had topics and conversations about things that SBU normally wouldn't because it was such a small private school. And they would invite people from all over, famous people, local people. I even met Angela Davis, crazy times. It's such a crazy thing to say. I've done that. So I truly loved UCM. It just revolutionized everything. I met these amazing professors, including you, and Hillary, and I met Nikki, and oh my gosh, Jack. I loved everyone. And so then going from there, I was able to meet Robin. Cannot remember her last name right now, but she is a professor in the political science department. And she's like, hey, we have this internship coming up at the Capitol. I'm like, is this weird if I do it as a master's student? And she's like, it's not unheard of. So I interviewed, I met a couple of people, and then I started working for Senator Barbara Ann Washington out of Kansas City. She is a phenomenal individual. She's been in Kansas City her whole life. She cares about urban farms. She cares about helping minority students. She's real big, not only with immigrant population, but Black students in general that may be suffering education wise. So getting to work with her was amazing. And I took a leap of faith because I still had a year, maybe a semester left. I uprooted. I got a year rent and I just completely uplifted my life. And everyone's like, what if you don't get a job afterwards? I'm like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do it.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, though.
I know. It was very scary. And everyone's like, oh. But I interviewed with Barbara. She's fantastic. I still work with her from time to time now, even not on the Senate side, but on the House side. And I also worked with another UCM alum because apparently there's several of us in the building. I had no idea. Brian Farmer, he got his degree in political science. I worked with them for a year and a half. We did a lot of Black history work. We did a lot of urban farms again. And so by the time I graduated in 2022, I'm like, I have no idea what to do. They're like, hey, this office for Senator Angela Mosley just opened up. Go ahead. So the fact that I had not only two bachelor's degrees, the fact that I had experience not only in Congress, U.S. Congress, but as an intern with another Senate office, perfect fit. St. Louis, however, crazy area. Love it, love the people, but it is completely a culture shock for me. Like people from St. Louis are people from St. Louis. They act a certain way, they speak a certain way, and I'm like, I'm here. So I was with them. Um, I ended up leaving that office at the end of 2023, and I now work for Mark Sharp, and I worked for Yolanda Young. They were both in the Kansas City area. Mark is the chairman of the Urban Issues Committee, and so we literally talk about anything that's going on. One of the bills, so he passed himself, was Blair's Law, which specifically talks about criminalizing celebratory gunfire. So normally on New Year's or 4th of July, birthdays, whatever, people just shoot a lot of guns into the air. And unfortunately, 13 years ago, an 11-year-old girl was unfortunately killed because of it.
Yeah, what
So we
goes
got
up
that
must come
bill.
down. Yeah.
They come down and unfortunately got a little girl on 4th of July.
Oh.
So I'm now with him. I've been with him for almost 3 years. I worked with Yolanda. She was another urban farm individual, a lot of agriculture. So I've learned a lot. And we also worked on legislation regarding blind individuals in Missouri. I never realized how much of an issue they face because you don't really think about that as a sighted individual. So this office has been awesome. Sorry to ramble for so long.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's been a whole culture shock. I really got to learn Missourians as a whole because when you think about politicians, you're like, oh, they don't care. And maybe some of them are here just for the title, but there are a good percentage of people that truly want to pass good legislation that will help people and make their lives better. And I'm happy to have the two people that I have. And with Patty being new, I'm so scared, but I'm so excited because she already has some great ideas. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's outstanding. So, when you were working on your master's degree, you mentioned
Mhm.
that you worked with the speech and debate team.
Yes.
And have you kept up with the team?
I do. Well, so it's kind of complicated. So I work with Marissa Mayo. She is actually a coach at Simpson College in Iowa. So I help them out. But then anytime Jordan Compton, my former coach, he is now the coach of
Right,
UCM.
right.
We just kind of all move around. So anytime he needs me, I'm there. I help out. A lot of the current GAs and students that are getting their masters are also former teammates of mine. So I am connected literally
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, how has that experience, working with that team, coaching with that team, how has that helped you in your role today?
Well, the topics you talk about specifically have helped me. So SBU and UCM are both very comprehensive teams. That means they not only make you do individual events, so that'll be like interp or like persuasive speeches or informative speeches, but they also make you debate, and so that can be public forum debate or parliamentary debate or IPDA, which is like individual something something something. And so they make you do both topics, so you have to learn about things that are going on in society, you have to learn about stories, and you have to give a again, like you have to advocate on their behalf. And so not only with the individual events would I learn about individual stories all across the country, I would learn about these terrible things that are going on and then essentially advocate for policies or advocate for changes through like change.org or reaching out to your state or like local rep and stuff like that. But in debate, we would learn about domestic and international policies and how they're impacting society. So I had to learn on both fronts about not only had to advocate for people, but like actually doing research on topics so I can then tell you what that means, why you should care, and what you can do with that information.
Yeah,
So yeah.
those research classes, the research topics, research methods as an undergrad, but
Yeah.
then in the grads program, you do the quantitative and the
Yes.
qualitative and the
Yes.
research projects you do, and pays
Yeah.
off. I mean, you're
They're intense.
no matter what you get into,
Yeah.
particularly if you go into communication fields, you're constantly going to have to be
Yes.
doing that kind of research. And where I think a lot of people get a bad feeling about it, has a bad connotation when they think of research. It actually, if you're researching something you're interested in, it's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting.
it's fun. It's truly fun. So like my research paper for my master's was how college students interpret Black Lives Matter through social media. And so I Black Lives Matter at the time, it was 2020, 2022-ish. It was like, it was really intense, and a
Hmm.
lot of people had mixed feelings on it. So I was a little nervous to get involved in that conversation with people. But like actually researching it, talking to individuals, like you get involved in the topic and you truly see people's perspectives and you can meet either in the middle or like understand why they feel that way. And it really is such a fun thing to do. I know that's so nerdy to say, but like I love
I
talking to
kind of geek
people.
out when I start researching stuff I'm
I,
interested in.
I love it. I love it so much. I love researching. I love talking to people. I love just getting people's perspectives. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you met my son Gavin whenever
Yes, I did.
he was interning there in Jeff City, and he loves doing research and
Yeah,
doing the same sort of thing
yeah.
you're doing. And I'll geek out about the research I'm doing. It's like, Dad, that sounds so boring. It's because he's not interested in what
Yeah,
I'm
that's the
interested
thing.
in.
Like, if it's something you care about, that's so much fun. Like, oh, it's just so entertaining because you're like, oh, I didn't know that. What else does this mean? Or how else do people interpret this? That's kind of my like geek out moment. It's like, how does this impact people? Why do they feel this way? How does this impact their rhetoric and like the way they think? I am a huge rhetoric person. Like, love it. So
So it sounds like as a legislative assistant, that's a lot of what you do is doing that kind of research. And are you researching to help them write bills? Are you
mhm.
researching to help them have conversations? What's the purpose there?
Both.
Okay.
Both. So I'm going to use Representative Young. I helped most of her legislation. Representative Sharp pretty much all had his ideas. He's had his bills. He's done them every single year. Thankfully, we were able to get Blair's law passed. But Yolanda has a couple of bills she cycles through. So for the ones that I mainly helped her with, it was for Missouri Council of the Blind, as well as the National Federation of Blind Council. I know I said that wrong. But we had to not only so one piece of legislation we did was getting rid or advocating for removing the certified mail qualification for blind pension checks. The government normally does it because it's just make sure you actually got your check, make sure it's easy. We have a way of checking, you have a way of checking. The problem is blind individuals sometimes aren't home when the mail is delivered. So they just leave a slip or something to say, hey, we were here, but there's no braille on it. There's nothing to indicate they actually were there. So they have to rely on a sighted individual to tell them that, hey, they missed their mail. But then they also need to rely on a sighted individual to then go to the mail of the post office, but they only have 15 days to do that. And then they have to sign for it. And it's just a lot of additional work.
Yeah.
And so I literally had to call the postmaster, which it's federal, post offices and all that is federal. But we still work interchangeably between each other. We still communicate. We learn how to do it on the state level so where I can make it easier on the federal and vice versa. So I had to talk to the postmaster here in Jefferson City. She walked me through it. She said certified mail normally is a great option, but there are 5 other options we can do with mail. Or I talked to the Division of Family Services as well as Department of Social Services, and they say most of the times people receive their checks direct deposit. So there is no need for the certified mail. So I had to literally do so much research, talk to so many people, make so many calls, but all of that I had to bring to Representative Young. I laid it out for her. She's like, okay, so this is a good piece of legislation to advocate for. These are the answers we're going to provide. And during hearings, because we have committee hearings to when we propose the legislation, and we answer all those questions. And when we put it all out on the table, they can say, yes, this is good. And so we can move it onto the floor and then we can debate it then. Or they're like, no, you need to work on it. We take it back, work on it, bring it back to committee. It's like a whole cycle, so much work. But it's interesting because like you not only learn these people's stories, but you also like realize that you take a lot of normal things for granted and having to actually do the research, talk to people, get their stories, you're like, okay, I realize I am taking for granted a lot of these things. How can I make life easier for you as well?
Yeah, that's that whole going back to
Yeah.
your grad class. It's that standpoint
Yeah.
theory of I'm not blind.
Yeah.
I'm a sighted individual. I never
Yeah.
would have even thought of that as a problem.
No, not at all.
We need somebody, you, the representatives you work with, to be thinking about those things and advocating for those who need that extra dose of help. So, man, that's great work. I'm so excited to hear about that.
Yeah.
So, what's next for Mariah Gilmore? Have you thought about running for office? Or are you
I
happy with what
do.
you're
I
doing?
do plan on running for
Excellent.
office. Not yet. I want to go to law school because I understand how to write laws, but I want to learn how they're actually enforced as well and how to interpret them. I feel like that'll make me a better state rep when I run myself. So my next goal will hopefully be going to law school. I am studying for the LSAT. I am so nervous because I've been out of school for so long.
Yeah,
I'm rusty.
you do that thing getting out. That's how I did my PhD. Was I was out for about 15
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
That was a
I'm
whole
rusty.
smack in the face.
I'm rusty. So I'm trying to get back into the whole mood of school, studying again. I'm looking at UMKC because I want to stay in Missouri, but I am also looking at Drake, which is in Iowa. I'm looking at UNC Chapel Hill, which has a really good like social justice and like they help homeless individuals with their housing. They're really involved, and that's what I've been doing here. So I'm looking at UNC Chapel Hill and a couple of other places, and I'm hoping I'm hoping I can get into any of them, and we'll see.
Well,
And then once
that's
I'm done with law school, I'm going to practice for a couple of years. Because whenever you're a state rep, you don't make any money, unfortunately. So I'm going to create a like little nest egg. So when I run for office, I won't be too poor.
excellent. So you've got a good plan laid out there, and
Try.
that's part of the reason why I wanted to put this podcast together is because you talked about right away initially you want to go to Mizzou, you want to be
Yeah,
this big shot lawyer.
yeah, I know.
Seems to me you've been pretty successful and had a pretty good life coming from a little
Yeah.
private school, getting your master's at the University of Central Missouri,
Yeah.
set yourself up for going for the LSAT and going to
Yeah.
a major university for law school. So I think you did okay coming to these smaller
Yeah,
schools.
none of my plans like worked out the way I intended, but they are still on track.
That's right. That's right. Well, Mariah, I'm so proud of you. You're doing some
Thanks.
great work. Thank you for your part in as a Missourian, as a taxpayer in the state. Thank you for all that you're doing and working there. Before I let you go, I have to ask you the last couple questions I ask all of our guests. What is some advice you would give to a current UCM student studying in communication? And what's a piece of advice you would give to somebody who is thinking about UCM to further their education?
So for a current student, there are two pieces of advice I want to give. One, be involved, like not only in your classes, but with your classmates. Get to know people because you actually feel like you have a community, and the more like you actually want to be involved, not only in your classes but in the actual campus, and then you're actually going to stay focused on your classwork, and you're
Yeah.
going to actually finish. So I highly like advise that because if you don't have a community, you're going to get sad. It's going to be rough. You're going to be far away from your family. So a community is really, really important. And the
You need your
communication,
people.
literally, in the communication department, it's all about communicating. So like you have your people, you just got to get in. So that's for current people, masters, bachelors, find your group, stay focused. You're going to get through it. I know it's going to be hard, but like it is so worth it in the end. And so for people thinking about going into communication, it is the most like diverse degree you could possibly get into. So, if you wanted like, hey, I want to be a lawyer, a lot of them look for people that have communication or journalism degrees over people that have like or like political science before they have pre-law because they want you to be more diverse. In addition, communication work it involves that level of research that other degrees aren't completely like they do research, but like research is in communication is just so intense because you not only have to cite your sources, you have to make sure they're validated, you have to cite them against recent and old ones, you have to make sure the information is current. It just a lot of information goes into it. So communication is super diverse. If you're not thinking about becoming like a communicator or opening a podcast, you can do journalism, you can go into politics, you can become a teacher, you can go into literally field ever. And then in addition, communication just helps you understand people better because you learn interpersonal communication and then you learn inter. It's
Yeah,
it's
both of them.
all yeah. So you learn both. And so you not only learn how to communicate better with other individuals, but you kind of learn yourself better as well. You evaluate, like, how do I talk to people? Does that work well? Do I need to change the way I do it? Do I understand information well? Do I need to change the way I adapt? Like, it's just a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot that goes into it. I think it just makes you a better person overall. Communication is just so amazing. I love studying people because I don't know, I'm weird. I'm a quirky person. I love like understanding how people communicate and how the way you say things into like impact other people. Like especially here in the building, like we say things on the floor, and that might not be what you intended to say, but like it had an impact on people. So the communication field in general will help you learn what that means, what you're saying, how will it impact people. I love it. I'm a nerd. I suggest everyone else goes and do it as well.
Well, Mariah, I am so glad you're one of our advocates. I'm so glad that you are there in Jet City advocating for Missourians. Keep us posted on how that's going with the hunt for law school, and good luck to you this new session. Good luck with the training. Proud of you.
Yes.
Keep it up. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me. I absolutely love doing this. Please have me back anytime.
Will do. We will do it. And thanks all of you for tuning in today. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music. Again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.